That's one of the reasons I got invited down there to the White House. I had a 45-minute meeting with Trump and another hour with J.D. Vance and Susie Wiles. And I'm like, sir, the optics of that are really horrible. And I'm like, why do you do that, sir? He's like, yeah, that was really bad. I'm like, and I said, sir, I was like one of your original frog posters. I was a keyboard warrior. But I'm like really concerned.
And we're joined now by Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports, the lead pollster there, who is a real trooper because he probably should have called in and just canceled, because I understand he's got the flu. But he showed up anyway. That's pretty impressive, Mark.
Yeah, I was definitely in the bathroom, huddled around a toilet, puking my guts out.
Wow.
Less than 2 hours ago. So we'll see how it goes. It's the norovirus.
I know. I read it was going around the country. I'm so sorry. I can't believe you showed up. I wouldn't have shown up if I were you, but I'm glad you showed up. Thank you. We spent all morning with our team and a panel and our reporter on the ground over in Great Britain, Peter McIlvena. And we're talking about all the people that are being arrested. 30 people a day being arrested in the UK for putting up just their opinion on issues. People in Ireland, a guy, Enoch Burke, being thrown into jail because he refuses to use LGBTQ pronouns. I mean, this kind of thing is coming to America. And I warned the audience this morning. I said, I'm frustrated with the Trump administration on some levels, but I'm also thankful that this is what we got, because a Harris-Walz administration would have put us into the same predicament, I believe, as the UK, where we would be being charged with hate speech, crimes, hate laws, that kind of thing. But we're going to lose this. And the window is closing to arrest these people that have committed treason, to deal with impeach these judges. The window is closing to save the republic, and we're going to slide into a Gavin Newsom administration by hook or crook, and we're going to be in the same position as the UK and their, quote, Great Reset, which includes central bank digital currencies, programmable money, tracking us, social credit scores, and charging people and arresting people who speak truth. Mark, this is where we're going. You can see it. This is the goal of the globalists, of the power elite.
Yeah, I think this is the core of exactly what's going to happen over the next 5 years or so in American politics. And I think people are starting to get it. I feel like the Overton window is all over the place right now and moving very rapidly. You even have things like Donald Trump retruthing posts that talk about Hart-Celler. Just the fact that happened.
What is that?
Completely mind-blowing to me. Hart-Celler is the 1963 act, I think, where Democrats in Congress basically completely rewrote our entire immigration system in order to do away with the quotas that had existed for hundreds of years that prevented the capped immigration from certain parts of the country. A lot of people might not know that happened, but there were massive waves of immigration in the past in the U.S., but they were legislatively limited to places that shared our same Western values. And that was completely upended in the 60s. And we had another wave of immigration where it was coming largely from third world parts of the country, places that don't share the same values that we have. And society has fragmented as a result, in my opinion. And you can conjecture about why that happened. And I would say that it's also probably been very great for big business in America in many ways. And the Republicans enabled this as well. You look back at George H.W. Bush, and he signed an immigration law that actually codified the H-1B visa program that's basically stealing all of Americans' high-paying salaries and preventing us from having a future. And it's just wild that all of this matrix, I think now, is being seen more and more by everybody, because you have, for instance, Elon Musk out there just raging against, everybody. Why aren't people procreating? Why aren't we having more people? Why don't we have replacement reproduction? And it's because, basically the American dream's been stolen and every drop of blood has been squeezed out of the middle class. How can you expect these people to afford to have families when they can't even buy a house to put them in? And so it's this kind of thing happened, and you have him as one of the major supporters of H-1B. Well, it's we took all those very high-paying jobs and gave them to the rest of the world. And so going back to your original point, I think that this is really – I look at Trump approval today, and it's at -12. And, again, Biden was worse, but it was after things like the Afghanistan crisis.
No, but wait.
So
when you say -12, you mean his approval rating is down by 12 points?
He went, no, he's 43 approved to 55 disapproved. So his net approval is -12. And that's by far the lowest of his term. Like I was freaking out back in the Epstein situation when it got down to -4. And so he went from a very popular president to now pretty unpopular. And it may recover, but you have to look around and wonder why that is. And looking at the internals, when things happen, like he got involved in the Middle East and the One Big Beautiful Bill passed and Epstein, like he lost independence. The independents weren't happy about that. The government shut down and then snap and all that other stuff. He lost some of his Democrat supporters and more independents. But really what's happened over the last week or two after these off-cycle elections is the Republicans are starting to turn on this guy too. He had, I mean, let's look at Republican strong approved today. Yesterday it was like 53%. So basically you have only half of Republicans strongly approving of Donald Trump today. And it's like looking at the news, why did that happen? There isn't really any one thing. And so what I'm looking at is maybe this realization all of a sudden that, wait a minute, we're not going to get what we voted for. And again, what we voted for was draining the swamp and restoring a golden age to America. And he is already taking victory laps on metrics that don't matter to people. And that's a really bad thing. That's one of the reasons I got invited down there to the White House to talk to them about their messaging, which is all over the map.
Did you meet with Trump when you went down there?
I had a 45-minute meeting with Trump and another hour with J.D. Vance and Susie Wiles.
So you met personally with Donald Trump?
Yep, on October 18th.
Did you share these things with him?
Too. Yeah, 100%.
Were you sitting in his private office? Were you sitting in the Oval Office? Where were you sitting?
It was the lunch room off the Oval Office.
Yep, the private dining room.
Yeah. And, got to see the Lewinsky room, got to see, got a tour of everything. It was.
Did he tell you about the Lewinsky? Did he tell you about the Lewinsky room? Did he tell you?
Well, he was too busy telling me how great it is golfing with Lindsey Graham. And I'm like, sir, the optics of that are really horrible.
Did you say that to him? Did you say that to him?
I was specifically, he says, well, I still golf with Brett Baer. And I'm like, why do you do that, sir? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I canceled cable on November 3rd, 2020 because Brett Baer stole your election. He's like, yeah, that was really bad. I'm like, and then what does he do? Last week, he has a golfing outing with Brett Baer, and there's all these pictures. What
else did you say that you can share with us that where you were just blunt?
They didn't tell me I wasn't allowed to share stuff.
They didn't make you sign a non-disclosure form before you walked out?
No.
Because I saw a video last night of Glenn Beck talking about how he spent time with Trump and had to sign a non-disclosure form before he left.
I don't want to get somebody in trouble, but no, I didn't sign a form. And I don't even remember everything that was said, but it's nothing that you haven't seen on my Twitter. I very specifically said, right now, sir, the messaging is all over the map. It feels like people don't really know, what you're running on and what's getting accomplished. But I'm worried about the Republicans. And so you're not converting your vote to Republican voters. And here's what I would do if I was trying to do that. It's like, you got to stop fighting your own party, stop going after Massey and MTG and fight for the American people.
How did he respond to that?
I don't even know how to explain.
What was his facial expression? What was his body language when you said stop attacking MTG and Thomas Massey? What was his body language and face?
I don't know. It was nodding and then he was ready to launch into another. I'm not the best person at recreating mental images of human interaction. I am an autistic pollster. You have to understand, right? But specifically, I said, well, here's what I would do, because I feel like it's going to take a Manhattan Project to get you guys to win the House. And I think it's going to be really bad if you lose, is that you need basically a fight plan for America, because you talked about fighting and nobody really actually described what that meant. You should fight for Americans, and everything you say needs to be funneled through that framework, right? And that if you're going to do it right, you have to actually address the real problems with economic populism, because the socialism on the left is going to fix this problem. They have a solution, and it's just to throw other people's money at all of the crises that the young voters are going through. And you can't ignore the fact that it's very bad for things out there. And so there's this aspect.
Did he acknowledge that? Did he understand this?
Yes. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. It is bad for people. But he's talking to Larry Ellison and Sean Hannity. And I don't think everybody says, oh, he's in a bubble created by gatekeepers in his administration. I didn't get that feeling at all. I get the feeling that he just talks to the people he likes to talk to. And that's bad. Oh, that's like objectively
And
not
that's the
what you
Lindsey
would
Grahams
want.
and Sean Hannitys and Larry Ellisons of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And that he enjoys hanging out with Cristiano Ronaldo. I said, sir, you have to smash the oligarchy, not look like the oligarchy. And when you come out with 50-year mortgages, that looks like an oligarchy solution to a problem.
You said that to him.
And yeah.
Has anyone ever gone
then,
in with this kind of guts? You're gutsy.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think it's anything that he hasn't probably heard in other words from JD Vance. Because I think the reason I got down there was because of him. But
Were you
and then the other part,
expecting? Had you ever met him before?
no.
Okay, I've met him at Mar-a-Lago with our team, and we produced an interview, and he was very kind, very laid back. So now having done this, I would think I could go in and be respectful and honest, because like, I'm for your best interest. I want you to succeed. I want your administration to succeed. I want you to go down in history as a great president. So I think if I couched it like that with respect, having met with him once before, I think I would be comfortable saying this, because I kind of could take his temperature and realize how he's going to respond. You probably didn't have you obviously went in cold turkey. Did you think, hey, if I say this, he may get angry with me. He may not want to continue the meeting. What did you anticipate?
I mean, with all due respect, like I was one of this guy's like first supporters, just personally. And as a pollster, I'm allowed to have biases because I'm the most accurate pollster in the industry. And I'm actually like pretty clear that humans do have biases, but my whole goal is for my polling to not have biases. And I said, sir, I was like one of your original frog posters. I was a keyboard warrior. But I'm like really concerned. And quite frankly, I don't know how in retrospect, how respectful I was. I'm not, a good gauge of that. But, I didn't really hold anything back. And I said about the second prong of fight is like, well, you need to have brutal accountability for the government. I said, sir, the FBI raided your house. And 53% of America said the FBI was Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. And all you did was put somebody else in charge of the Gestapo. And so you haven't seen, people haven't seen the swamp being drained. They haven't seen brutal accountability for the government. And I rattled off all these numbers about how everybody hates the government. And what's weird, too, is even since then, the polling is off the charts. Like, we've talked on your show about how only 30% trust the federal government, right? But this is even more damning. This is just from like a week or two ago. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Federal agencies such as the FBI and CIA need major reform. So this isn't like last year. This is like last week. And it's like 76%, but it's 80% of Republicans. And so you have a Republican president in office who has staffed his agencies with ostensibly Republicans, and yet still 80% of Republicans say these agencies need major reform. And so you have all these like underlying concerns where it's like Donald Trump is not addressing the core root cause of what is wrong in America. This gets back to your original premise. And what's wild is, I know you don't like the guy, but Nick Fuentes knows this more than other people. And what he said a year ago was that he wasn't voting for Donald Trump because he didn't think that he was actually going to fulfill his promises. And he would have preferred a Harris-Walz presidency. And why is that? Well, we're going to get insane leftists in this country who are going to literally push us to the brink, I think. We're probably going to see a bigger wave of censorship, a lot more political arrests. And would it have been better if that happened sooner or later after the can got kicked for a little bit? And it looks like right now the can got kicked for a little bit, but the root causes of America haven't been addressed. And
so
we're
going to go back to having to be afraid of the FBI kicking in the door of broadcasters.
Yeah, 100%. Who's been fired? Our very FBI alone just seems captive. They're talking about the January 6th pipe bomber as if anybody cares about that at all. That's not what people care about. People
Is that
care
even the
about
right guy? Is that even the right guy?
Can you even trust the FBI to not do a snow job? Like, that's what I think this is.
So you don't think they have the right guy?
I don't know, but like, I'm worried about the Fedsurrection. I'm worried about the fact that the left thinks the right is violent terrorists because we had a staged psychological operation perpetrated by federal agents who are all still employed. That's what I care about. And, we had 50, I think we got to a 61 or 62% number of Americans who agreed that January 6th was a Fedsurrection. We used those words. So it's like, what are we even doing here? It's like Donald Trump got in and he had now that like I understand that this is a problem with politics, which is like things got so bad under Biden. And again, I think Biden was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And if their goal was to extend the uniparty kleptocratic theft, then Biden probably screwed it up. And I think that was their goal and plan. Now, I don't know what aspect of this is like the demon has been revealed. And so now they have to go whole hog. I really don't know. But, you know, so much of what he ran on was non-specific. Like he kind of ran on vibes too. Like he was very specific about shutting the border invasion down, right? But then everything else was like, you know, the tested branding that MAGA is. It's like we're going to drain the swamp. We're going to like, you know, and it's like, okay, well, what is that? There was no plan for that.
Well, what about
Nobody
just
has a sheet of paper that's like here.
What about taking the cameras into the vaults at Fort Knox? What didn't he tell us that was going to happen? Didn't he tell us he's going to take us there?
Well, I think that there's a vacuum of leadership and organization. And what that probably was them feeding off the Elon Musk vibes. I think Elon Musk came in and was doing a lot more as president than Donald Trump was.
Did you tell him that?
No, I did not say that.
Did you tell him that you had a lot of young people when you had Elon here with Doge? Did you tell him that?
I said, sir, you hit a 60% youth favorability rating. That is insane. And that should have made all politics in Washington, D.C. screech to a halt. Wait a minute. The Republicans have the youth zeitgeist. How did that possibly happen? And I said, sir, that was a week after two very specific things. It was a week after search volume, global search volume for Doge was at its highest ever. You could go look at the chart on Google Trends of the word Doge. And it's the exact same week that Donald Trump had a 60% approval rating among under 40 voters.
Did he know this?
And then the other thing, I told him that, yeah.
No, but did he know this? Was this news to him?
I mean, I don't know. Like he was like listening and, you know, and then the other thing I said is like, sir, you made this quote about Napoleon Bonaparte. He's like, what is that? And I said, well, he who saves his country violates no laws. That's the vibe these people are after. They need brutal accountability. They want the system corrected. And so, you know, I don't remember much else of the specifics. Again, the conversation was all over the place, but the message was delivered. And you could say in some ways they did change their messaging since then. Like they've started to say other things, like at the cabinet meeting, the Department of Labor seemed to get it. Scott Bessent seemed to get it. I think Harold Lutnick always kind of seemed to get it. Like he, in my opinion, I don't know much about the guy or what the positives or benefits of it, but you could go back to the September meeting where Trump signed the executive order that instituted the H-1B fee. And you could tell that Donald Trump didn't even know what he was signing. And Harold Lutnick is like, no, here's how it will help restore high-paying jobs to Americans. And it's like, that's what we need more of. And I think J.D. Vance gets it as well because his little speech at the cabinet meeting was also pretty great. Now, it seems like...
No, wait. Did you tell him, Mr. Trump, you can't be saying things like, Americans are too stupid to have these jobs. You have to bring people in here from out of the country. You can't be saying we need 600,000 Chi-Coms go to the universities so we can prop up the cultural Marxist universities. That kind of stuff is why you're dropping. You can't be helping Qatar build a base in Idaho. Did any of that come up?
Not Qatar. Definitely the students, but I don't remember if it was just with Susie or with Trump.
Oh, wait a minute. You met with Susie as well?
Yeah, I met with Susie, JD, and Marco, and then went in and had lunch.
And how did they respond to what you were saying to them?
Marco is really cool. He seems very focused on his job. I think he's like an attack dog. And when
you say cool, you mean he was laid back, cool, like easygoing, cool as in, hey, he's a cool guy, yeah. Or cool as in he was like cold,
a fun guy to go have a beer with. Yeah.
Okay, cool as in he was an easygoing guy. Okay. Did you pick up he's running for president?
What I had to say, like, what's that?
All right, did you pick up he's running for president or vice president with Vance?
No, I didn't. No, we didn't. That wasn't discussed at all.
Are they trying to get a hold of the polling so they can finish the terms with success? Or are they already doing the metrics and trying to figure out if they're going to get slaughtered in the midterms? Or are they setting up to try to figure out who should be the ticket, Vance and Marco, or Marco and Vance, or what was their, why would they agree to meet with you?
I think that there was a lot of brutal blowback after some of the things that Trump said, where he was where he said, "Don't talk to me about affordability," and where he counter signaled everybody on H-1Bs and the whole Chinese student thing. And so I was very vocal about how these were like very, 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 very bad things. Because in my opinion, what you have here is that Donald Trump's not going to be on the ticket again. And this isn't like, in my opinion, like in 2016, where everybody will sort of tolerate a chaotic Trump. I think the country's in a very different place. And he'll still get his 60, 65 million like true believers and Republican voting Republicans. But the question of like, is any other person ever going to get to 75 million? And that's a big if, right? And so in order to do that, you need to change the Republican Party to be a party of these principles that aren't really still fully baked. The fact that Trump, like right now, MAGA is just whatever Trump says it is. Well, it's like, where is the actual framework of what a pro-American worker Republican Party looks like? And quite frankly, it's nowhere near there yet. Most Republicans in Washington, D.C., in my opinion, that I've met, just anecdotally, have no idea, as the youth say, like what time it is. And they still think that they're going to be able to continue the way they've been continuing, which is mostly just running on nothing. And hey, we're the red team and not the blue team, and we raise money because they're socialists. And by the way,
well, the socialists are going to be elected by the people that voted for Trump, those younger people, if he doesn't fix the problem, which I'm guessing is what you told them, because they wanted you to fix the economic and housing problem and inflation problem and the lack of jobs problem. And you, as a Mr. Capitalist, Donald Trump, aren't going to do it. So they're all going to run to the socialist and universal basic income because, if you can't beat them, join them. At least they're promising to help me pay my rent and I don't have a job. So I'll take your universal basic income. Did you explain to him you're losing and they're going to run into the arms of the very opposite of who you are?
Yes, I said, sir, these people who voted for you under 40 are not conservative at all. That's a trope. Like, that's not true. And then I gave them some examples of what these people believe, and what they want is just order and their problems fixed. And right now, the Democrats have a good solution for these people. It's democratic socialism. They're literally just going to raid the Treasury and give everybody a house or whatever it is, right? And so I said the Republican Party needs to have a pragmatic alternative to this solution, because their solution will work. It will destroy the country, but it will work, right?
Did you say you told him the people under 40 that supported you are not conservative? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes,
100%. So you said they're not conservative, but they elected you, voted for you because they want you to fix problems.
Yeah, check this out. I don't think we've talked about this one, but it's a good example. We've done a lot of polling very specifically on the under 40 voter. And one of the things we pulled a lot on is AI, because I think, Donald Trump's leaning into AI investment, but I think there's a lot of question marks about, well, what will that actually do to our society? And it's kind of weird because all the oligarchs seem to really want this AI thing, but is it the right thing for Americans? And it hasn't been explicitly very determinate of what people think. There is concern. Some people think it'll be better. A plurality say it would be worse of the under 40 voters, but still not by much. But then we ask this question that it says, well, people are frustrated that government is stalemated and that we're not getting enough stuff to represent us or blah, blah, blah. And AI is becoming increasingly more advanced. Would you support or oppose giving most decisions in the federal government around policy to an advanced AI? And I think the number was maybe 41% of all voters under 40 supported it. But when you look at ideology, this is where it gets nuts. 55% of conservatives under 40 supported that. Only 40% didn't. And the number of liberals was way, way, way less, like in the 20s. So you have these like control left statist liberals, ostensibly, who are like, no, don't put an AI in charge. That's nuts. People have like individual agency, right? Where the conservatives under 40 are like, literally, we need Mecha Hitler to come and just fix our problems. And so this is, again, leaning into, you can dismiss it as saying, oh, like people like Nick Fuentes and his followers of Groypers and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, there are tens of millions of conservatives under 40 who are completely fed up with the fact that our system has completely been turned against them, and they just want brutal relief. And so when Donald Trump like signals that he's going to be Napoleon, right, and when he comes in and rips the government apart, that's what people are here for. and he completely lost that. And I don't know how they get it back at this point. We've seen so much stuff like this. People under 40, they are the most likely to want arrests for things like Arctic frost and the auto pen scandal. People under 40 are most likely to say that judges like Boasberg need to be impeached. I quite frankly think that back in March, if Donald Trump had ignored federal judges, he would have gotten away with it. But the problem is that that's completely gone now. And so this gets back to like, what's MAGA and what's the future of MAGA? And I don't know. I don't think they've figured it out yet. But the worst thing for Donald Trump is that, again, he's not going to be on the ballot again. And I wonder if his endorsement's going to be valuable anymore because he's endorsing ridiculous people. And so there's going to be a point where people look at him and say, well, what, like, is this ever going to fix itself? And if the answer is no, then he's going to lose all political capital. This might not be a thing where he becomes a lame duck, you know, like in 26 or 27. Like this could be happening very soon when people say no. Like we've stuck with him, and it's not going to work. I don't think he has 4 years. I really don't. And then you're looking at, well, they're going into 26 midterms. I don't necessarily think the market is going to be there, and they think it is. And in my opinion, that's a very big risky gambit, right? But we have so many exogenous shocks that could upset the market in a way that they can't control. But I don't even know if people care that much about the market because so few people actually hold stocks in this country, and the stock market is not. I mean, it would be parroted probably as leftist talking point, but I don't think people really feel that, right? And so I think we're in this situation where if Donald Trump and Republicans haven't literally formed ranks around an actual plan, I'm telling you, like, it wasn't fully open kimono. I get that. I think that they're trying to do this right, but I didn't get the feeling that there was any intent or plan behind this. Like, you know, Project 2025, it's like, I would have been a lot more, comfortable if I'd come in and said, and they said, well, we're just executing Project 2025 and we're on step 2B. I would have been like, okay, good. All right. But it's like, I feel like I had a better plan to get my Eagle Scout at age 17 than these people have it, like literally governing.
They're winging it.
Yeah. No, I don't think all the cabinet heads are winging it. I think some of them are doing really great things.
But if you're saying we need a contract with America, we need a Newt Gingrich. We need a Newt Gingrich contract with America, and you use those words to Trump or to Susie Wiles and Marco and Vance?
No, directly to Trump. I said, sir, the problems are so deep, they can't be fixed in 3 years. They can't be fixed probably in 5 years. But you have to lay out, this is the plan to restore America.
And what did he say to that idea?
I don't remember. I mean, there was a lot of nodding. Like, I really don't.
So when you say that the meeting was like all over the map, is that because of Trump's ADD or ADHD or perceived ADD or AD? He seems. I'm just guessing. I'm not an expert, but I'm assuming he's got ADD, ADHD, and because I know people like him, and I'm assuming. So you're saying it was all over the map because he was the one obviously running the meeting. He's probably
an intuitor on the Myers-Briggs. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of an intuitive person too. I shove a lot of numbers in my head, and then I'm like, okay, bleep, bleep, bloop, this is what I think, right? And so I think he's always responding to new stimuli, and he takes information in, makes a decision, shoots from the hip. If he has to shoot a different direction tomorrow, he's going to shoot a different direction. And that's fine. I think intuitive leadership is a great thing. I've used it a lot before. But I think America needs a little more focus right now. This is like, I said it on Twitter. I think America needs a wartime president right now because we are basically at war. Mm-hmm. And what is that war? I don't know, but it's definitely against a system that doesn't work for most Americans anymore.
What did you take away from Susie Wiles? I mean, a lot of people think she's a problem, that her and Pam Bondi and others have sold out to Qatar and drug companies. And what did you take away from her? Is she the ice maiden? Is she the one running the show, or is Trump running the show? I mean, is she trying to make him successful?
Trump's running the show. Trump is definitely running the show, 100%. And Susie was actually really on board with bringing me in, and sounds like she had read some of my stuff and was very supportive and trying to help me get my message across to Trump.
Because, you know, our buddy Roger Stone speaks well of her.
Does he? I don't know. Yeah, I like Roger too. Yeah, you know, I don't any of this other stuff.
So people that have attacked her or blaming things on her, you don't see she's the problem.
No, no,
The
not
problem
at all.
is Trump himself.
I think.
It's self-inflicted.
I guess. Like,
Are people afraid are they afraid of him? Are they afraid to offend him? Are they afraid to say, look, sir, you've got to be more disciplined? You know,
No,
Logan and I have worked with people like this before. We've worked with people like this before. And it can be, you can get really, really worn out fast because it's, you got a bulldog by the chain and they're going all over the place and you're just trying to bring them to heel for their own safety and sake and accomplishments and purposes. Yeah. And I wonder if that's what it's like in the Trump world, that it's like trying to corral cats.
I think that this is a function of how DC operates plus the current mindset that Trump is in. And I don't, again, think that there's this energy of fighting something. And he talks to a lot of people, and that's fine. But in DC, the people that wind up floating to the top are people who want something or are rich or, are trying to subvert the voters. And it's always with a smile, right? It's always got a little glitz and chrome on it. It's not, I think these things aren't as devious seeming when they happen. But the way I kind of perceive myself, and which is why, like, again, I went in there with complete expectations that I would have gotten screamed at. And I'm really surprised I didn't.
Okay, so that was my question earlier. What were you expecting to get kicked out of there? You just said you thought you were going to get yelled at.
Yeah, I thought I was, because I have harsh criticism. And at the end of the day, they don't pay me anything, so they couldn't fire me. And there's literally no power they had over me. I guess they could throw me whatever. Whatever. I'm just, but with the way I see myself, the IRS
audit shows up. Just wait till you get audited. That's all.
Yeah. Like I'm an honest pollster. I'm probably not even paying taxes this year. But so,
and I'm just kidding, by the way. But I have to tell you, I want to commend Vance and Rubio and Susie and the president for bringing you in, because they had to know. They had to know by reading your feed that you were not going to be a cheerleader, that you were going to tell them the truth. And I commend them for bringing you in to do that. That to me is a spark of hope.
Yeah. Here's the
thing. Although, did you leave with more hope, or did you leave more discouraged?
I guess we'll see. The problem is, though, I think J.D. Vance is the only one in that White House that's on the internet. So I think that's a really big problem. And if I were to try to do something organizationally to fix that, he should have a daily war council of people under 40. And I don't need to be on there, but like it should be independent people, people that have no commitment to the Republican Party, because that's who they need to. And I could give them a list of these people, and they would be surprised on a daily basis of what they actually need to focus on and what they could get away with.
Wow.
And it's just like wild things, like, for instance, the LGBT stuff is like especially older people, they really hate it. They think it's not fair. They want that fixed. You could tell that Republicans are like, okay, we'll use this as a whipping boy. Mike Johnson still talks about it a lot, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people under 40 are like, oh, look at those pearl clutchers. Look at those old pearl clutchers going after this thing that doesn't matter to me at all. You know what I mean? It's like, again, I don't think they necessarily care as much that some dude's in their locker when they can't buy a house. They literally, median home buyer age is 40. And so it's like when you spend, I think this is across the board. It's like you could get away with doing stupid things if at the end of the day, there was this core subtextual feeling in America that the party in power was actually going after the things that mattered. And I give, for example, I think Donald Trump's Iran and Israel stuff, I think that would have been fine and would not have affected his polling if at the same time he was still able to maintain the domestic focus. And so the fact that he's not, the fact that he doesn't have something going, and that I don't know what that thing could be, but it needs to be uniform. And for instance, if you were going to have a contract for America, you'd make a big deal out of it. And every Republican would be on the same page, and you would put a website up, and you would have weekly check-ins, speeches to America about what you were getting done this week on this line item and about how it's 100 things you're going to get done. But listen, we can only get 10 or 15 done by next November, but keep voting for us and this stuff will keep getting done. And it's like you have all these reasons that it's not going to happen because like I guess circling the wagons and putting this together and sticking your neck out, like maybe those are too big of a gulf. Or maybe they know they can't get anything out of Congress. Maybe. I mean, I've heard now recently that actually Congress is waiting on input for the White House and they haven't been able to get anything. So now I feel bad for beating up on Mike Johnson and John Thune because maybe it is they aren't being given guidance. Like, I really don't know.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but this is what happens when, in again, my experience with dealing with, people that have big personalities that are CEOs that are used to doing their own thing, their own way. This is what happens when those kind of guys go into this kind of job that requires a ton of reading, a ton of meetings, a ton of talking and strategizing. It is the wrong skill set for the wrong job. I think I hate to say this on the air, and I'm saying it off the cuff. Guys like President Trump don't have the skill set to be the administrator of a government. Because you run a company much, much differently than you run a state government, a city government, or the federal government. They don't have the skill set for it, or they don't have the discipline. They don't have the self-discipline that's required for what it takes to work in and I don't think I could do it I could probably force myself, but I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it. So I'm not criticizing the president because I don't know that I have the personality, frankly, to handle it. I might be able to handle it for a few weeks or a few months, but I think eventually I would become very frustrated, very, very, very discouraged. And at some point you might just throw your arms up and just enjoy the perks of the job and whatever it is you want to do and say, the system, which is why when you look at people like Yarvin and some of these other guys in the tech bros who are talking about turning us into a monarchy and basically letting the president be a CEO, I would think that's pretty appealing to a guy like Donald Trump, because I'm sure he gets tired of chasing all these and hurting these cats himself. But I don't think a guy like Donald Trump, a very successful CEO, has the skill set and personality to be put into the box of being the president, because it just is not how he's used to running, particularly at 79 years of age. What do you make of what I just said?
No, I think that's right. And I think what America needs changes. And I think in 2016, having a chaotic outsider that was a crack at branding and out there being very pugilistic on the internet, I think that was what America needed. And it definitely put us in a new direction. Again, I think what America needs right now is a wartime president and somebody who spends, a third of our meeting talking about golf outings.
What?
And Fox News hosts.
He spent a third of your meeting talking about golf outings and Fox News hosts?
Yeah, and like, this rich guy's giving us statues, and the ballroom's going to be great. And it's like,
So wait a minute, I want to go back to this. So Donald Trump is, at the end of the day, he's not a guy that wants to get into the policy wonk, the discussion, the strategizing. He likes to talk about very surface-oriented things.
Yeah, and if somebody says, look, here's good news, it's going to be immediately shot out on the internet as like, look, we fixed America. And that's not what we need right now. We need somebody to really roll up their sleeves. And I've seen the sentiment from a lot of people. And listen, I'm not saying that he's not the right guy, but you have to understand what America needs. And if you aren't capable or willing or able to provide that, then what you do is you delegate.
But you couldn't even get him to, I'm guessing, take a yellow legal pad and say, okay, Mark, tell me what I need to do to fix my administration. And was he sitting there taking notes? Was he taking any notes?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe JD has notes, but what I was like, one of the things you can do is like, okay, tomorrow, make JD Vance the American dream czar. Give him the keys to go out and rebuild the American dream. And then what you need is the most evil person on earth, maybe Stephen Miller, I don't know, to be the government reform czar. That's how you would do this. You would
And you
have to
told him all
delegate
that.
these
You
things
told him
to-
all that.
No, I didn't. No, I'm riffing now. But the message was delivered. The message was delivered. America has not seen government reform, and they all wanted the swamp drained. And that was a very powerful part of your message. And you basically put somebody else in charge of the FBI Gestapo. And that's why when you see all of these people questioning the FBI, it's because you haven't publicly reformed it yet, or the IRS, or the CIA, or any of these agencies. And so Americans are still not going to trust the federal government, and until they actually get walked down the journey of who are all the people that like went after the mama bears at the school meeting. So
Yeah.
again, this sentiment, when you have under 40 conservatives by a majority, literally, we even asked about giving control of the military over to an advanced AI, and half of conservatives under 40 were like, yep, time to do it. They're sick of us being involved in forever wars, and they are literally ready to launch Skynet.
Well, what
It's
scares
that
me to
wild.
death, and I got to wrap, but what scares me to death is that the frustration is going to cause the young people to say, just turn the whole darn thing over to AI, be done with Congress, be done with, judges, just let AI run the whole thing. And I think that's what some of these tech bros like Yarvin want.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be the ones that get the say. I do think because of the fourth turning stuff that we're getting to a very big inflection point where the young people will have more political power than the old people. Right now, Congress and Senate are 60% boomers and only 14% millennials and Gen Z. And between now and 10 years from now, that number is going to probably completely reverse. And I think it'll move even faster sooner because the Democrat Party is going to realize that we could bottle up some of this Mamdani energy and sprinkle it on all these other candidates. The Republicans still don't really know what they need to do to win at all. And the frustration I see, because I was very vocal on the internet about these things, I got tons of DMs. I got hundreds of DMs from young MAGA supporters who weren't really Republican, but were 100% on the Trump train. And basically the sentiment I heard is, we're just waiting for our Franco, and Donald Trump isn't it.
Wow.
And so
this has been a fascinating,
that's what time it is.
Fascinating conversation. Absolutely fascinating. And I'm shocked that you are speaking so freely. A lot of people go in these meetings and then they come out, they don't say anything. I don't think I've ever talked to someone who has gone and met with the president, who then turns around and just comes on the air and talks openly like you just did. Fascinating. I think our numbers and responses are going to be huge.
In trouble.
Well, I think it's very, 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 speaks very highly of you. And I think the numbers on this are going to be huge because that we just got brought into the room by you. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your guts. Thank you for your transparency that you're trying to help them. And I guarantee you, if he'd gone in there with this conversation with someone, not that I agree with everything he talks about, but a Newt Gingrich as a parliamentarian would have gotten it. As the Contract with America guy, as a historian, he would have gotten it. And they need a guy like that, a younger Newt Gingrich. I'm not into the whole some of the communitarianism stuff he's into, but a young Newt Gingrich that is a parliamentarian that understands the technology side of it and setting a contract with America and then how the system works to get the process done versus a CEO who I think at this point is absolutely frustrated beyond belief is kind of what I'm hearing. Look at his socials right here. Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen. Follow him at Honest Pollster, and RasmussenReports.com. Mark, excellent. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks. Great to be here.
You too, my friend. All right, guys, we'll be right back.